Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gotham City. I'm your host, Levy Rozman, and this is a podcast where I talk to people who live in the chess world on the 64 squares and at times beyond them. But in this episode, we are staying within the chess world, and this is a conversation from about a month ago with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is a husband, he is a father, he is a strong chess player, and he is also the host of the Perpetual Chess Podcast. He is the godfather of chess podcasts, if you will. He interviewed me 2 times before I ever thought about launching a podcast of my own, so I'm very grateful to him for that. And we talk about kind of his consistency in uploading podcast episodes and a whole lot of other things, including candidates predictions. So this is why I'm launching this in the middle of candidates. And moving forward, my podcast episodes will be coming out in a more timely manner. I have shortened that gap from about 2.5 months now to 1 month, and an episode coming out next week will be from an episode I recorded maybe about 7 days ago. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. I'm super excited to have you on. You said you were going to make fun of me, so maybe we can start with getting that out of the way. And
Yeah, Levy, you are a man of many talents. First of all, I have to say happy to be here. Really honored. Feel like I'm punching above my weight here, but I'm happy to be here, Levy. And just got to say, you know, you do so many things well, but the pod's every 3 months. You got to work on that. I know your listeners want more.
In my defense, I was very consistent for a while. And the last 3-4 months, yeah, it's been bad. I had a podcast sit for like 2.5 months that I had it ready and I slowly made progress. I cropped it, I edited it, and yeah. But this is a new beginning, and I can promise that this episode will come out quite soon. And then if I don't have any other guests scheduled after you, I still have to schedule a few people. So I don't know how you do it. Every Tuesday, like I was doing every Friday, I was doing every Saturday, or basically anytime I could. How did you start with all the chess podcasting? And yeah, take me through that. Was it difficult to invite people, contact people, reach people, especially before the chess boom?
Yeah, it was tough. So for listeners not familiar, I host a podcast called Perpetual Chess. I started in 2016, you know, back in the Stone Ages. And at the time, there was not a lot of chess podcasts, and I was really into podcasts. Like Levy, I used to run scholastic programs, and at the time I lived in Pittsburgh, I was driving all over the place, listening to tons of podcasts, but there wasn't much on chess. And, you know, I felt like it should be like a grandmaster doing it. I'm like a, you know, washed up USCF master, 2100 now. Losing reading every day. It's brutal out there. But I felt like it really shouldn't be me doing it, but I felt like someone should be doing this. And I waited for a while, and I did know a few people in the chess world. I went to school with Jennifer and Greg Shahade, and I'm old friends with Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson, and I know Mike Klein we used to be roommates in Brooklyn, as Levy and I talked about. We used to live in Greenpoint many, many years ago. So I thought I knew enough people in the chess world. So I figured, all right, let's line up a few interviews and see how this lands. And if I can line up a few more, we'll keep it going. And now, you know, I didn't make money for a long time, but I enjoyed doing it. And here I am.
Are you old friends with Jan Gustafsson? How did that happen?
It's kind of a funny story. Well, Greg Shahade and I went to a kind of scholastic chess powerhouse together called Masterman in Philadelphia. And, you know, he was like one of the top young American players in the country. So he got to be friends with Jan Gustafsson on the Internet Chess Club. And at some point, probably when Jan was around 18, he came to New York, and like our circles of friends met. And then we just kind of kept up over the years. Jan and I were both professional poker players at times. And we would just, you know, we've never been best of friends or anything, but one of those things where if you're near each other, you try to see each other. He's come to the US a few times, and we chat online every now and then.
Oh, I was talking about the Internet Chess Club on, I think on my stream yesterday. And I found it fascinating that your profile was called a finger.
Yeah. It's kind of strange, right?
Yeah. I looking back, I mean, there was a lot of, same with I think my age group at first. We started socializing on there. Then Facebook came around. I was like 12 or 13, and then there was also a little MySpace period. So but the Internet Chess Club was the original social media platform for chess teenagers and chess, I guess, even I suppose into the adult age too. So I didn't know that. I had no idea that. And Jan Gustafsson is like from World Youth, right? So it's like one of those, like from traveling to tournaments. I guess they got to know each other.
I really think that Jan, anyone who's watched his streams and stuff, like he's pretty into American pop culture. He watches a lot of the shows. Like we used to both basketball, old school hip hop, and the list goes on. So I think just early on, Jan decided like, I want to go to New York. So he came to New York and he played in some Marshall Rapid events and stuff like that. So I actually don't think it was, Greg or Jan could speak to this better than me, but I think it was just Jan wanted to visit New York and did a few times. So we got to know each other.
Oh, yeah. He's a big fan of basketball. That I know. That's interesting. I didn't realize. And in terms of continuing, how's your? Do you upload every single week, or have you taken breaks?
I've never missed more than a week in a row, and I try to plan it. If I'm going to miss it, I try to announce it in advance. The hardest was at the beginning. Again, I wasn't making any money, and I wasn't as well networked as I am now. I have something like 300 episodes, and I've interviewed world champions and stuff. So now, like in a pinch, I could interview someone. But I mean, I love doing it. I love hearing people's stories. I love chess culture. And I have enough variety of guests that it doesn't really get repetitive for me. So generally, like, even if my family's going on vacation, something like that, like I'll generally try to work ahead because I enjoy it enough. And the other thing, Levy, I'm sure you can relate to this. I feel like there's so many people to talk to. Like as it is, there's so many people I want to interview that if I skip a week, well, that's like one less person I can have on the show. So it's not really like a chore to be consistent. I love the grind.
And I just want you to know, I'm not looking away because I'm not interested. I'm looking away because my dog has a ton of energy and is trying to eat my chair.
Yeah, shout out Benji.
we might get him on camera. Yeah, he has a lot of things to chew in the room, but he prefers to chew in the chair. Yeah, I'm in awe. I must say, when I started this kind of my podcast, I always wanted to do it even in 2021. And the goal was to try to talk to people that otherwise would not talk to the general audience. Like that was my mentality. So I was hoping to get the super GMs or like, the Danny Wrenches, but like look behind the curtain of chess.com or something like that. And also like you said, just talk to, just ordinary people. They don't have to have a YouTube channel. They don't have to be a super GM. My biggest struggle, as much as I found it exciting and interesting to have conversations with folks, is at some point I was kind of upset because I found myself asking 2600 level GMs almost the same questions. And sure, they have different stories, and what I would like to do is listen to their stories and kind of chip away at a few things. But a lot of them, unfortunately, have a kind of sort of pretty similar approach to their careers. And yeah, that was my biggest struggle. And the other issue is, as much as I would like to talk to, let's just say, like random individual who might be doing chess here and there, people are fickle. They won't watch. So it's sort of frustrating that even though if it's like a good story, but in the long run, if I can manage my time a little bit better, I would talk to anybody and everybody. So you have my utmost respect for managing only not to miss like 1 or 2 weeks max, because as you said.
Levy, yeah, I mean, of course, part of it is like, you're a huge success. Your YouTube is booming. You've got your sponsors. You've got your Twitch. Like, this is my gig, man. So I need to not screw this up. Like I consider myself extremely lucky that I get to do this basically as a full-time job. So I go in on the preparation. I give a lot of thought to who I have as guests. And yeah, I try not, it's hard, as you say, basically it's always going to come down to, is your guest compelling or not? But yeah, you do try to avoid sort of the boilerplate, like, I learned chess when I was 6 from my dad, and then he took me to a chess club, and then I started crushing everyone in sight. Yep. the sort of boilerplate interview. You know, shout out to all the 2600 GMs. I mean, the reason I launched, one of the reasons I launched the podcast is I'm totally in awe of players like that. You know, like they're just like when I see them calculate, and if I get a chance to do a postmortem or whatever, nowadays you can just watch on YouTube. It's like, to me, it's like watching, you know, the whatever cliche, LeBron play basketball, or even like Danny Green play basketball, whatever, you know, like they're just so amazing at what they do. But I have learned over the years to sort of broaden the scope of who I interview.
That's a fair point. Yeah. That sometimes you look at a Danny Green and, well, actually now he's injured because of a horrible thing that happened. So it's difficult to I wasn't going to say pick on the guy, for example, but yeah, it's true. Like, we look at sports leagues and the top players get all the attention, but number 150 will absolutely destroy just about anybody, right? It's the same. And
they might have better stories to tell, you know, because they might be more unfiltered. You know, they might appreciate their station a little bit more. And there's some of that in chess as well. Yeah,
they don't have to filter themselves and be worried about something getting taken out of context. And yeah, it's true. There's a lot of...
like Pat Beverley, for those of you who follow the NBA, he wants the smoke. He's like, he wants the attention, because if he talks trash, people will listen. And otherwise people are like, well, why do I care what this like journeyman says?
You saw what happened yesterday?
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was what you were referring to. I had a whole day of watching his highlights, taking the train to and from the gym yesterday and biking. And I like to put on just random sports yakety yak when I'm like, you know, biking or whatever, commuting, taking a shower. Like that's the stuff I enjoy. And I had so many highlights from Patrick Beverley, you know, calling Chris Paul a cone. Just no respect whatsoever. Yeah, it got a lot. And you know, ESPN, they're geniuses. They bring him on. He says all this nonsense in the morning, and then the rest of the day, the hosts of every show talk about him. Like, by the end of the day, Matt Barnes, who also works for ESPN, was like, he was out of line.
Right.
Then it was very funny.
Yeah, luckily we don't have to talk about chess 24 hours a day. Even for someone like you can limit it to a couple of hours.
Yes, it is true. I'm definitely mildly burnt out. It's something that in the long run, I don't think I want to do every single day, because the last couple of years and my entire life have been super intense. But yeah, for now, I'm sort of here. I was going to ask you who's the Pat Beverley of chess, but I don't know if we have one.
Yeah. In terms of like, you know who it is? It's Danny Gormley. You know who he is? British Grandmaster. He wrote a pretty. He's got a new book out, but he also wrote a memoir, like inside a year of the chess circuit. That's like totally from the hip. And obviously there's been some stories about him over the years, but I'd say that's who it is.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a good. I mean, even Pat Beverley is quite a decent, basketball player, but in the
exactly
in the big picture. Just looked outside, and there's a big police van just parked.
So you're still in New York, right, Levy?
Yeah, that was a dead giveaway.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still in New York. I don't know what my future holds in terms of where I'll live or under what state code of taxes I'll find myself. Or it's tough when everybody's here. I'm sure you're in tri-state area, right?
Yeah, I'm in central New Jersey, so I don't get to New York super often, but I lived in New York for 10 years, and it's definitely part of my heart and might end up back there someday. But I know you talk about moving. I totally get it. It's the classic New Yorkers dilemma.
Yeah, everybody's here. Friends, family. It's tough to abandon all that. I mean, I've woken up in new residences and felt overwhelmed. I cannot imagine moving to another state or, country and regretting it after a month. That's like, what are you gonna do? It's interesting. Big streamers live in 0% tax states half the year, and then they'll move. They live in a state like California, which is a high tax state, but then they'll move halfway to like Vegas, where they're registered as an address, and then they spend 6 months in one day there, and they're able to
spend 6 months in one day there. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I just, IRS will not audit the podcast, I hope. But that is something that we haven't quite mastered. And I don't know, but we'll see. It's not so simple. So, I mean, you're around chess every day, so I feel like there's a million ways we can go. You, I don't even know where to start. Honestly, like I have like 20 different questions I want to ask you. All right, let's start here. You recently started playing chess again over the board, like a lot.
Yes. I mean, a decent amount. Yeah.
I saw it was like actually very active. I mean, once every couple weeks. I totally forgot that you have Westfield.
Yeah.
Quads.
Wow.
There.
Yeah. You went deep. Yeah. I just played that for the first time. Yeah. And it is nice because I have two kids. It's my son's little league season. He's 9. I'm coaching. So basically while that's going on, I can't go to a weekend tournament. So it's nice that I can duck out to like an afternoon. And, when you have a family, you're always looking for the least disruptive way to try to play in a tournament, which is no small feat. So yeah, for now, I'll be doing those. And then my goal was to play 50 rated games this year. For listeners, I'm rated about 2120 or something USCF. I made master when I was 18 and it's been all downhill from there. Although a lot of the time was spent most of the time was spent semi-retired, but now I'm back on the grind. I'm trying to study about an hour a day. It's fun to get back into it. It's nice to not have distractions. But yeah, man, as everyone always talks about, it's tough these days. All you internet wizards are nipping at our heels, and the kids obviously are monsters.
Oh, the kids are, yeah, it's horrible. There's an account on chess.com I have a huge rivalry with. It's probably a grown man, but it's an account from India called The Chess Child, and it's a profile of literally a baby.
Right.
And I lose to this baby like 70% of the time I play it. And it's like 2750 blitz. It's true.
Levy, yeah. I got to get the update. I apologize if you talk about this stuff on stream.
It's okay.
The GM quest, is it still alive?
It's a good question. The content and kind of the whole journey, which by the end of it might be 100, maybe 200 videos of various trainings and games, maybe. I mean, it's an open-ended, it's never closed. But I don't think I'm going to be playing and studying seriously for a bit. I'm working on a few things. Once those few things are out of the way, maybe. But yeah, I'll have to go all in terms of, probably seeing a sports psychologist, studying more than the hours before my games, which is literally the only time I study.
Yeah. Yeah, man, It's tough. Props to you for even trying. You're so good already. I mean, 2700 blitz, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's tough at the top. It's tough up there. It's hard enough.
Wouldn't insult the top by calling me the top,
Okay, but I mean, you're in the neighborhood of GM strength, in blitz at least.
Yes, on my good days for sure, and definitely when I was in form. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm discovering things about myself. I hate to say as I'm getting older, but I mean it's true. Like you don't regress in age, so. I'm noticing my limitations, and I definitely do need sports psychology, most likely just overall therapy, once a week or something, just from it's a bit of an overwhelming profession, and just my personality. And I think a lot of it does hold me back over the board. I'm definitely more free-flowing when I'm playing blitz, and when I kind of like I'm not caring so much. Literally not caring, I should say. But it's true. I mean, it's really true. I get quite intense and nervous, and I enjoy chess, but I hate it at the same time, which I think is, I don't know. Do you feel that way?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I feel like it's so common. And again, like, because I have a family, if I troop to Connecticut or something to go play a weekend tournament, which I have done recently, just every once in a while, the thought pops in my head, like, what am I doing? Like, it's like you're missing some birthday party or something. Now, on the one hand, these kids' birthday parties can kind of get boring and run together. But on the other hand, like, what matters in life, like your rating, or like, being present for your family. And if it wasn't my family, it would be something else. I mean, obviously, like when I was in my 20s, and through my mid 30s, I didn't play that much either. It's just, life gets in the way. And I think as you're dealing with like the struggle of going to a tournament is one thing, but really it's the, like, when you're a competitive person wanting to put your best foot forward, it's like you end up on this hamster wheel where like you've either got to really push hard or it's like, why are you doing it? And then it just kind of teeters back and forth. And I feel that, and I'm trying to sort of walk the middle path. You know, I try to study an hour a day. There's basically no, like, unless someone like made some big prop bet with me or something, there's no way I'm going to study chess 4 hours a day. You know, it's just, even if it were possible, like it's, there's just, I'm interested in a lot of things in life. So it's hard. But for anyone watching / listening that's younger, if you have that fire, like, I would say that's a signal to follow that while you're young, because it does get harder.
It definitely does. And I think I always took the efficient study approach, which is openings. So I just learned kind of aggressive offbeat stuff through the 21 and 2200 and 2300 rating area, where I would sort of totally take people out of their preparation. And because I had played so many blitz games and just kind of understood those kind of dumb, not mainline positions better than people, that like that was the rating range that I could sort of very easily rack up points against. That is actually how I got through 21, 2200, even up to almost FM strength. In fact, even I think crossing FM strength. That was my approach. I barely studied endgames, and I just sort of played a lot of blitz. That's how I kept my tactics sharp, and I took the opening approach. Like, if you ask me to name the world champions in order, I can't do that. If you ask me to name how many chess world champions there are, I can't do that. If you gave me 10 famous games right now, I would probably not recognize half of them, which is just like probably wrong. Like, I probably should surround myself and should have studied in a more eclectic way, right? Like, I should be fully immersed in the game. But that I don't know, that was never really what interested me. Like, I guess what interested me was playing different openings and getting interesting and imbalanced positions and going for attacks, or just having complex games. But I think, unfortunately, for every chess player, there comes a part of the rating ladder where the way you're doing it is no longer going to be satisfactory. And that sucks. Like, that sucks. Like, your weaknesses start getting exposed more and more. What would you say is your current approach as like a 2100? I mean, you've been to master, but that was, like you said you were 18. So being 2100 nowadays, I feel like 2100s nowadays are much better than 2100s from maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago. But that so is everybody. It sort of feels like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. I'm not going to say I'm like stronger than I ever was, but I'm not really worse, but everyone else is better. And for me, my openings are decent. Like, I think everyone feels like their openings aren't good enough, but like, I try to be objective and sort of step back and look at the data, and like, my positions are fine out of the opening objectively, even though I feel like people are always catching you with some crap. Like, it's like water finding a leak. Like, when you sit down to play at a tournament, they will find the one thing you aren't prepared for. Like, yeah. I heard your interview with Fedor Holtz, and you were talking about the fantasy variation.
Yeah,
like,
that was so dumb.
I mean, you're a public figure, so for you, it's like a little more obvious. But I feel like even if it's just random chance, like, they'll find the thing that you're like, the one thing that you're like, oh, I should probably study this, and then you don't, and then boom, it's on the board. So that happens some, but nonetheless, openings aren't the reason why I'm not like 2300. A lot of it is I could be tactically sharper, which is tough because I think visualization and calculation are the hardest thing to improve. And I'm working with a coach, shout out to Grandmaster Axel Bachmann. And he says I need to work on converting advantages. He's just like, you need to play with more energy. You need to, you need to put people under pressure. So that's kind of the aspect of my game that, like, I feel like is somewhat helpable. Look at some games of Mikhail Tal, sharpen up my repertoire, and grind the tactics, and we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, grinding tactics always, right? Like, this is really always something. What I did at times is I've made brand new tactics accounts, like on Chess Tempo, and I had to put in an answer in 30 seconds. Like, I just forced myself, or it was wrong. I mean, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's not much more demoralizing and stuff in chess than thinking you're right on a tactics puzzle and seeing a giant red answer when you put it in.
Right.
But yeah, like that's one thing that I did. But I'll be like completely honest. What pushed me from 21 to 2200 was learning the Caro Kann. Like I learned the Caro Kann at a time where it wasn't so popular, and the main lines that were being recommended for white did not prove convincing. Like it was a time where black got ahead of white, and I wasn't just equalizing with black. I was just straight up getting winning positions from the opening, which was really unheard of. And I purposely never learned things like the Sicilian or E5 because I don't care that the top guys play it. I want to learn what I want to learn. And then what got me from 21 high to 2300 was the D4 sidelines. Like I just played Trumpowski, and everybody's opening repertoire was out the window. They had to play on my terms. And it worked. It worked for a very long time until, well, I don't know. I mean, I got to 2400 playing occasional Trumpowskis, 2400 FIDE, which is like, it's really no joke.
Yeah.
Now I try to mess around within main lines, and that doesn't always work. And like I said, now I have to adjust. Now I really should be playing the main lines, but I don't want to study them, and it takes a lot of time. And yeah, that's sort of my that's sort of my current issue. Converting advantages too, though. Like I frequently totally misevaluate positions where my opponents have counterplay. I don't know. There's not much worse of a feeling either than being over the board and you're sitting there for 10 minutes, you play a move, and you go, wait, can my opponent do that? I didn't even look at that. And it's the best move. You ever felt that way?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I mean, one thing to say about your rise, Levy, is like, you know, you credit your openings, but obviously you have some tactical talent. Like, again, your blitz rating sort of reflects that. So I think that what worked for you might not work for a lot of people. Like, I think you just needed to, excuse me, you just needed to get out of the opening and kind of know the position. Whereas some other people might actually need to like get better, you know, they might need to calculate better.
Yeah, it's true. As much as people can argue talent versus hard work, some of our brains are, you know, you give the same sample size of people a position or something like that. Some people are naturally drawn to certain moves, I think, and some people might not be. And then some people might stop themselves from playing too aggressively for various reasons in their brain. It happens a lot to me too. Like sometimes even in the middle of a blitz game, I have a decision and I have a bad feeling about a certain move, but I'll play it and my bad decision was justified. And the less moments you have like that, the better. And Magnus doesn't have many of those moments at all. Maybe 1 in 100 or something. 1 in 1,000 moves. He'll make a move that he knows might not be great, but he'll go for it anyway. So, and it gets lower and lower, you know, as you go down the rating ladder.
Yeah, I enjoyed your video of Magnus clowning people in Title Tuesday.
Oh, I mean, it was insane. He just shows up, B3, B6 every game and goes 10 out of 11, you know?
It's really amazing. It's something to behold. I hope he plays it more often. We'll see. We're recording this on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was amazing. I really thought he was going to play the evening edition, but I had a feeling he wouldn't. I mean, I thought he was just sort of, you know, wins the morning Title Tuesday, doesn't elaborate.
Yeah.
Goes home. Also kind of nuts that the one time he played, Hikaru had a historically bad Title Tuesday. Like that, I mean, you can't make it up. I mean, I wanted them to play. I'm not cheering for them to have bad events. I really wanted them to play. And like, you can't write it. You know, Magnus shows up and it just throws everything goes haywire. He wins it seemingly effortlessly. Yeah, if he played the stuff more and more, I mean, imagine Magnus in Arena Kings. Just shows up for 2 hours, but I think Arena Kings is sort of below him. I was 2 opponents away from playing Magnus. So
wow.
In the second round, I played Serana, and he was 2 places below Magnus, so I was very close. But I beat him, so...
I was going to say, you must have played him at some point.
Magnus?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I beat Serana.
So you've never played Magnus?
I played him one time in a Lichess game in like early 2018. I mean, back when I was a nobody and Magnus was Magnus.
Right.
And I was better, actually. I was playing on my touch screen laptop back then. and I was tapping on the screen, and I was better, but I freaked out, and then I just like...
What was the time control?
It was Bullet. It was a titled arena.
Well, 1 minute, 2 minute?
1 minute.
Okay,
1 minute.
yeah, I mean, barely matters.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the like amazing feats by grandmasters, how good the 1 minute games are crazy to me. Like when I watch, even I am not a GM, like I always enjoy that. Wish you luck in your next round. The 1 minute games when the announcers are like breaking it down like a real game. For me, it's like I'm just gonna hang a piece sooner or later.
Well, the +1 is a game changer.
Yeah, it does make a difference.
I honestly think the rating goes up, like the bottom range kind of comes up like 300 points for the online rating. With 1-0, I think if you gave me anybody in that field in 1-0, well, I'll also be nervous, but just in a random match on stream, it's like an overwhelming favorite against basically anybody not named Eric Rosen, because we've played hundreds of games against each other.
You're the favorite.
Yes, against the entire field.
Okay.
Like, but the +1 is huge, Ben, because for me personally, like my brain doesn't work the same with the bonus time because flagging is no longer a thing. Like
right.
For me, maybe for good players, but for me, so in a moment where we both have 30 seconds, I won't just play the move that I think is right. I'll actually start to think, which is crazy. You can't think with that little time. And I'll get into a situation where, and this happened against Nemo, I had 40 seconds, she had 5. Just make moves. Just go, just make moves. But she's never going to lose on time. And all of a sudden, we both have 5 seconds, and I'm not even better anymore. And yeah, I mean, but if you remove that time, then if losing on time is a real factor, then everything changes because you can play way more aggressive and not get punished for it. You can throw crazy attacks at your opponent. So, but yeah, the Speed Chess Championship, for example, when the 2700s play against each other, I'm sitting there like, how do they play mainline theory in a 1 minute game? This is
right.
Like, I will play just aggressive stuff and try to checkmate people in Bullet. And I don't think there's any value whatsoever in Bullet, obviously, like for improvement. What are your thoughts on, you think it worsens your chess if you play Bullet?
Mainly the opportunity cost. I don't think it makes you make worse choices necessarily, like in a slower game. But like if you were going to spend that time studying chess, then yes, like and I don't know about you. I mean, I've never been an amazing Bullet player, but again, throwing it back to the ICC days, I mean, I certainly had my share of like benders where you just play for hours. You get the music going and you're just in the zone, and it can be fun, but yeah, it's not going to help your chess, but that's fine. Like life is hard. If it brings joy to someone, I'm all for it. It's just for me, like, as an adult trying to manage my time responsibly, you end up sort of in this cycle of self-loathing if you can't stop playing, and then you're tired the next day and you get less done the next day, so I basically don't play Bullet at all for that reason.
It's also the logic of if you play before sleep,
Yeah.
I'll win this game and I'll go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
now I'm gonna play till I lose.
Yeah, got to get to the round number. yeah, or whatever.
And then oh my god, I'm my first win. I'm gonna stop, and then all of a sudden it's been 2-3 hours. Yeah, I definitely had that. I think I used to do that a lot with Blitz. Bullet. I used to play a lot more Blitz and Bullet on my phone, actually. I almost never play Bullet on my computer anymore. And it's bad. There was a period of time I was playing a lot of Hyper Bullet and Bullet, like 30-second, 1 minute chess. And I was like pretty consistently a 3000 rated Bullet and Hyper Bullet player. And now it feels like my brain is just stuck. Like I get it. A Blitz game gets down to 10 seconds each, and it's Russian roulette for me. I can't even think anymore. I don't get locked in. So you also get inform in Bullet, which is really gross. That the more Bullet you play, the better you're going to be at it probably, because you're just like, your brain is hardwired, but then everything else will go poorly. And for me now, I almost never play Bullet, and I'm horrible at it. Like I can't think at all when time gets low. I'll freak out, panic, do something dumb, lose, get checkmated in a game I was totally winning.
It's all Benji's fault waking you up at 6 in the morning.
It's all his fault, but at least now I can put it on, my second channel. Any
Right.
game I lose from a winning position,
Nice.
it's Clips content, it's monetizable idiocy.
Right.
Is monetizable a word? But yeah, I gotta wake up early to take care of him. But I think I sleep more than like the average 25, 26-year-old anyway. I think 6-7 hours. That most people are. I don't know. I think most people are not sleeping a whole lot nowadays. But I know that you talk to a lot of like players who are. They like to say adult improvers, and of that community of folks on Twitter, I see them a lot. They call themselves chess punks. It's not necessarily people who learned during pandemic, right? But they might have gotten back to the game during pandemic, like they played in childhood or something like that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, shout out Chess Punks. I got the mug to go with it.
I see y'all too. I see them. I don't have the mug, but
We'll get Neil Bruce on that. Shout out Neil Bruce. So it started before the pandemic. It was basically just like, obviously Twitter is like a morass. It's like a, giant swamp of competing interests and people sniping at each other, but it also can be a great place to exchange information and to build community. So anyway, people were looking for a hashtag to use, like for people who basically come to Twitter looking to talk about chess and share puzzles and talk about like what they're doing to work on their game, rather than to like, shit post and argue about politics. So the community's grown over the years. I mean, lots of people come and post and share puzzles. And, one thing that's definitely come to my attention from doing the podcast over the years is like, and shout out Grandmaster Jesse Cry, he's talked about this, like, at the end of the day, if you're not like Magnus, we're kind of all the same if we're trying to get better at chess. Like, we all reach a level where like we're encountering some resistance. And of course, when you're rated, say, 1100, there is some lower hanging fruit in terms of how to improve, especially if you're newer to the game. But ultimately, like, it's the same struggle, what we were talking about, dealing with motivation and questioning if we should use our time well, if it's a good use of our time. Like, it's all a part of the struggle, and it can be lonely. Like, I know you grew up with a lot of people, a lot of friends, like as peers. And I think that's another reason the kids get good so fast, is often they have their peers pushing them and just sort of enveloping them in the culture. And as an adult, where this is like your side thing, aside from your job and your family life, and maybe you don't have like IRL friends that necessarily are interested in chess. So that's a major detriment to potentially improving. So anyway, it's just a community on Twitter where people can sort of talk about chess and work to get better together.
That's sort of what I figured. Yeah, it seemed like a hashtag that folks can communicate thoughts and ideas to one another. I appreciate it. It just seems like grown folks who like chess and aren't there to be idiots, which is, like you said, a lot of Twitter.
Right.
For example, I made a tweet today where people can submit questions for my guest, and I'm not going to read a lot of them because if you scroll through it, it's pretty gross, and it's from innocent stuff like, why did you name yourself after my dog?
Right. Which is a valid question.
To things about body parts and things. So it's cool. I like not this is not cool, but the whole chess punks concept is quite cool. And I oftentimes, throughout my chess career journey, starting from teaching 5-year-olds to now Twitch chat, I used to it's a more sophisticated form of zookeeping.
Right.
Teaching 5-year-olds was one thing. Managing Twitch chat is a totally other skill set. And then what I do on YouTube, pretty much outside of Guess the Elo, which is kind of crazy episodes, is I try to be like classroom and professional, and something you can put on in the living room of a house so your kids can watch. There's a big community of players that are beyond the level, I think, of watching guess the elo or some of my content, and it's an audience that I've sort of struggled to bring in along with everybody else, because it's hard to keep a player like who's rated 2100, for example, interested in something that a player who's rated 700 would be interested in. And that is perhaps the number one criticism I get. So I'm gonna ask you, Ben. I'm gonna put you on the spot. If it was up to you, would you watch my YouTube videos or would you watch someone else? Name drop some other YouTubers.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to name drop some others, but first, Levy, I have to say, and I've told you this when I've interviewed you, listeners, by the way, if you haven't caught them, I've interviewed Levy a couple times.
Yes.
So you should definitely check those out. The first one is kind of funny to listen to because it's before you blew up. So it's really kind of deep in the weeds on like your scholastic programs and stuff. Yep. But anyway, that's why people love your tournament game recap. I mean, first of all, there's like a narrative there, you know, that might be lacking in like a random, say, you know, this is how you whatever chess advice video you generally do, like opening traps or whatever. There's a narrative there because we know you're pushing for the GM norm, and obviously also you're super strong. So like when I watch your GM pursuit videos, I don't feel like I'm genuinely learning from it, and I'm amazed at, like, I'm really legit impressed at your ability to sort of reach a wide range of rating audience, because I know there's also people, as you say, rated all the way to new to chess that also find them very compelling. So that's one thing I would say. But I mean, honestly, Levy, you got like 1.5 million YouTube subscribers.
No, Ben, I need you. That's the most important.
You can't be all things to all people. So you're just going to have to be happy. But I will give a shout out to a few great creators. I mean, Naroditsky, you know, he doesn't really need me to give him a shout out. He's doing quite well on his own, but obviously he's awesome. Huge fan of Daniel King, Power Play Chess. And that one for more advanced players, like it's really, you know, it's really gold. He's got the soothing British voice. I mean, he's been in chess for decades, so he knows all the best players in the world. He knows the context, and, you know, he keeps the recap videos relatively short. I mean, I do think you probably need to be at least like 1600 chess.com to fully appreciate his videos, but they're soothing in any event. And I got to give a shout out to Andres Toth.
Yep.
He's one of the best teachers online. He's got like an Inside the Amateur's Mind series that people love, and he knows his chess inside and out. It's very entertaining. Chess Dojo, Kostya Kovutsky and friends, as I mentioned. So there's so many good people. But for me personally, if it's like I'm catching up on a tournament or something and it's not like for work, I'm not preparing for an interview, like Daniel King is the one I'm most likely to watch.
Yep. Yeah, Daniel King is, I enjoy when commentators pull back to, like, you know, 16 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate his chess wisdom. You know, he'll say, yeah, you know, the first time I actually saw this was
right.
like
it's
I was
amazing.
I was in this guy's living room
right,
and
exactly.
You know, he pitched this idea, and then it's one of the things I appreciated the most about the Queen's Gambit, I think, was just the fact that you could analyze a position on like move 6 and come up with a new idea. No stockfish, and on the other side of the world, people were also looking at that idea.
Yeah.
And it just seems like a crazy time to me, because nowadays everything is solved. Everything, it seems like everybody knows every line. And even on stream, sometimes I get into a position, I'm like, this looks terrible. And it turns out to be completely fine. My opponent had some prep. Like, So
yeah, I'm reading Fire on Board right now. In addition to interviews, I do like book recaps, and this is a classic by this Latvian grandmaster Alexei Shirov, total legend. He was like number 2, number 3 in the world. He should have played Kasparov for the World Championship in the late 90s, and just like amazing games, brash attacking player. I'm not telling you this stuff, Levy, obviously.
I know.
But anyway, but going through that book, it's like a unique moment in time, because this opening prep was off the hook. He's like unleashing novelties left and right in all of his pet lines. And as you say, all of them are like, you know, this GM in Madrid showed me this move, and then I uncorked it 2 months later. You know, It's like all referential, and a lot of it is like something that someone specifically told him or showed him. And all that stuff is out the window now. Everyone's got the same engines.
It really feels like back then they used to come up with deep ideas, and over time they were either slowly confirmed or denied by practice or computers. And nowadays you look for the most idiotic move to throw your opponent off, and you've memorized everything Leela and Stockfish tell you, so you know the best way your opponent can play to get a minus 0.2, you know, and that's where it hinges. It hinges on that knife edge. But one thing I've also realized is sometimes when you force those positions, like you take people out of book, even if they play moves that are not good over the board, like I'll be sitting over the board and go, what about that move? I don't look at that. And I did that in my most recent tournament. I studied for like an hour, this like offbeat English idea. And at the board, I'm like, huh. You know, I have a couple of options here. They both look good. One was plus 0.7, and one was completely equal and landed me in a maybe worse position. But they both had like a very similar feel according to the position. So preparing nowadays just seems impossible. Like and you know, last tournament I played a bunch of Joe Buffalo Londons, which is objectively not a good opening. And I just did it because I just didn't want to learn any openings. Like everybody knows everything. And yeah, Shirov in the 90s was uncorking just disgusting ideas and in crazy openings that nobody had ever seen before. And now you just don't get that anymore. You just really don't. I mean, you get some stupid looking move that is a novelty, and if they play right, it's equality, and if not, then and the thing is, both players need to be willing, you know, and if they're not, then they're not. It's just, so I don't know. It's sometimes better to watch games from the 90s and 80s, like Fire on Board. Yeah, that's one chess book I actually tried to read back in the day.
It holds up pretty well, but yeah, it's definitely a moment in time.
Yeah, Shirov got screwed.
Yeah.
That whole story is kind of nuts. The exact story is what Kasparov was like, I don't want to play Shirov because I'm going to kill him. I'd rather play Kramnik, and then Kramnik basically just...
basically they couldn't, you know, the top line story is they couldn't come up with the money, you know, what went on behind the scenes in terms of the money not appearing, you know, like there's speculation, and I couldn't really say with full authority, but I mean, it seems like if Kasparov wanted the match to happen desperately, like it could have happened, you know, and Shirov, like his career was never the same. That's obviously, it's not easy to get to play for the world championship. So yeah, it's a bummer. And he was like such a bright talent. I mean, obviously he's still an amazing player, but like he was really just like jacking people in that book. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the, to be top 5, let alone number 2, basically in the world in the 90s, I mean, that was a crazy time. That was the peak of Kasparov, Anand, right? Like, I mean, everybody was just a monster in that era. It's the same in basketball. You know, you try to compare eras, like would a team of like Jordan and like the 4 contemporary other best players beat a current? You know, it's different because now we have a 3-point shot. We have different offensive like refereeing, but man, I almost feel like I understand that top 5 nowadays might beat top 5 from the 90s of chess, but wouldn't you love to see it? Kasparov, Kramnik, Anand, Shirov versus, you know, well, Anand is almost still
he's still there. Yeah, amazing.
But who would you take? I want to take the 90s top 5, you know, Kasparov. I feel like nobody could beat Kasparov at his peak.
I mean, he does seem like he had that aura of invincibility, and the way that he won tournaments, you know, it's like by 3 points, you know, just like destroying the field left and right. I mean, Magnus seems like he wins almost every tournament, but I feel like he wins them by 1 point, you know, which is sort of more indicative of his playing style. But I also think, like, again, getting to what you're saying, it's more unfair to compare because Kasparov had like this massive operation. You know, he had sort of advantages of scale because he made the most money, so he could have the biggest team. He gets fed the best ideas, and he's already the most talented player. So I think there was a way that sort of like his advantages compounded in a way that doesn't necessarily happen the same way. Like, again, with what we're saying with engines, obviously Magnus can still hire the most people, but everyone's kind of on equal footing in terms of like opening prep.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays a well-versed engine using not during the game, in their free time.
Right.
2300 might come up with opening ideas that even Magnus can use.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Caro famously works with Chris Littlejohn 2400. Like it's yeah, you don't need a super GM.
Yeah, there was an account on Chessable. I forgot the name of it, but I mean that account published a couple of opening courses, and in their bio they said that they're a 2000 2100 rated player, but they've been used by super GMs, or
right? Yeah,
at least 2600 GMs. Their content has been used by those people, and that's pretty cool. You know? I think I lost to a Nimso line that was suggested in a course made by a 2000 on Chessable. Like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Backed with Leela. So, I mean, nowadays you don't have to be Gary Kasparov to get the best team, and it's a very fair point though. Like the best athletes make the most money, so they continue to be the best athletes, and they continue to have the best system. Yeah, it's a very fair.
I mean,
point.
I think it was especially true in chess because, like, all right, like LeBron is obviously one of the richest athletes, and he's known for like the hyperbaric chambers or whatever. I'm sure he's got like the floating rooms, and the doctors on staff. But on the other hand, like all NBA players are so rich that if they really wanted to, they could do that stuff. But like chess in the 90s, like if Kasparov's the only one making seven figures, like, and he might have some, government or corporate support on top of that, like it would have been tough for the mere, people merely making a good living to compete. Whereas again, now it's, I think it's a little more of a fair fight.
That's a very fair
But Magnus
point.
still can't be beat. So
no, he can't. And I don't know when. When do you think he will lose his title?
I just know it's going to be to an Indian.
It's a good bet.
Yeah.
Well, which one?
Yeah, it's tough out of I mean, it could be anyone. Anyone could pop up, but yeah, Sarin and Prague are just killing it. I think the bigger question with Magnus is will he play? I mean, I see a lot of people online saying that he's like bluffing, and that's just not how he rolls. And like, I just interviewed the aforementioned Jan Gustafsson, who's on his prep team, and he told his team before the match, this is probably the last one. Like, this is not like some elaborate deep fake, like he's basically, he could change his mind, but he's not planning on playing most of the people who would win the candidates. So I think if he did play, I think honestly, even Ali Reza, I don't think could beat him just yet. So yeah, no. I think Ding would have the best chance, but Magnus would probably win.
That's so fascinating that he doesn't want to play because he doesn't enjoy like the whole process much anymore, and I guess the reward isn't worth it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, the reward is like everything's the same.
Right.
So it's like all this sacrifice to maintain the same station. I mean, you can try to motivate yourself with the historical analogs, but like that requires a sort of a certain mindset that he maybe doesn't have, or maybe it's like he's mildly motivated by that, but not enough. I mean, he's got a pretty good life. So it's yeah, I empathize with him, even though I really want him to defend his title.
It'd be so fascinating if he actually just declined to do it. I don't know. We need Hikaru to win the candidates. Yeah, that's well,
I mean, I'm rooting for Hikaru or Ali Reza, and he would play Ali Reza for sure. Hikaru, I think at least someone would throw a big bag of money at him, so it'd be interesting in that respect. But honestly, I'm not sure if Magnus would play it.
I think Magnus would play it. What? Of course he would play. For the big bag of money, I think. It's true.
He's already got a big bag of money, though.
I know, but it's like I say, the prize fund for the World Championship 30 years ago was the same as it is now, and it's worse because inflation is at an all-time high. So
yeah,
it's not the same winning what you would have won in 1990.
Yeah,
to what you could win in 2023.
But he just doesn't seem like someone that motivated by money generally. Like, he plays when he wants to play.
I think we don't know anything about Magnus.
Yeah, but then what are we going to talk about, Levy?
I know.
Of course, we don't know anything about Magnus.
I know, but it's this. I have to fight my Twitch chat about this too, because we talk about chess boxing and Magnus, and they're like, Magnus is jacked, and I'm like, how do you guys know that?
Right.
Stop. Like, you don't know that he's probably in shape, you know.
Right.
I'm sure he. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah, it's. I don't know. You know, it's true. We can speculate, but I feel like Hikaru or Ali Reza winning the candidates would be the best case scenario. I cannot imagine a situation like if Caruana wins, is he really going to play Caruana a second time?
Yeah.
I don't think that interests him.
Yeah, I'm afraid not. Yeah. And again, like maybe Sinkfeld would offer a lot of money for that, but I don't know if he'd be as motivated.
But what happens if so a guy wins the candidates? What's the next step? Is the next step FIDE contacts Magnus and says, hey, let's schedule a match?
FIDE goes in a dark room, you know, brings in some oligarchs,
right.
Has some secret conversations, and emerges months later with a venue and a and a prize fund that's the same as 30 years ago. So yeah, I don't really know. And
interesting.
And I do think the people at FIDE, they don't have the easiest job, but yeah, there's some stuff that could be done better, and hopefully we'll continue to move things forward.
That's actually, yeah, it's a great point. I mean, maybe it's just a matter of he wants more of the process, maybe, and more of the. Who knows?
Well, I mean, his manager, Peter Hein-Nielsen, who's always quick to say that he's speaking for himself, but you've probably seen him arguing with Emil Satowski of FIDE on Twitter, and he's always stridently advocating for more transparency, which obviously I'm in favor of transparency as well. But it is, I mean, it is interesting someone that close to Magnus is constantly pushing for changes in the system. So, and then we got the Russia-Ukraine stuff on top of that with FIDE's Russia affiliations. It's a bit of a mess.
Basically, every major sponsor that has been affiliated with World Championship is always Russian. It's a nickel company. It's a
computer
company. Computer company. It's always Russian law firm.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see what's going to happen.
I feel like chess is big enough. Like I feel like, you know, MasterCard is working with Play Magnus. Obviously, you've got your crypto thing in the background. Like, I feel like there's no reason like corporate sponsors should be interested in sponsoring a major event, and we should be able to raise the prize fund. I feel like the visibility is high enough, so it's mainly a question of leadership pounding the pavement.
I think so, but I also think that historically, for many, many, many years, FIDE has kind of a Russian, it's like an extension of Russia. So
yeah,
I don't see that control being surrendered to the West, let alone someone in the United States. I mean, maybe there's someone in Europe who's going to become the president, and I actually don't know. Maybe you know better than me. Is it just sort of something that, like, FIDE it's a French acronym.
Yeah.
And I don't know the history of FIDE that well. I know who's run it, but there is really no reason it's an extension and has a history rooted in Russia. Is there? Like, theoretically, couldn't FIDE be anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think, and it's not, I don't think it's like a formal relationship. It's just that's where the money's coming from. But, you know, there's another election right now, like as we record, again, Tuesday, May 17th, like Dvorkovich is running again. Now he's got Anand as like his deputy. So obviously utmost respectable grandmaster on its team. And no like major competitor has been announced, no major opponent. So until that changes, and again, I feel like Dvorkovich, like independent of the Russia-Ukraine stuff, he's done a few good things. Of course, I wasn't a big fan of the breast implant sponsors of the women's championship, but overall they've made some progress. But yeah, I mean, they've been tough to unseat over the years.
Yeah, that's a weird one, man. I remember that caused a lot of conversation. That was a good. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah,
Some
there's so
stuff
much
just.
crazy stuff happens that it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, and that's a totally separate, obviously, Pandora's box. But it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know why it's just really so Russian. I guess it's just from the middle of the 20th century when Soviet chess started exploding and they sort of paved the way. It's been Russian ever since. But
Well, I mean, when Kasparov ran against Ilyumzhanov, I'm sure I mispronounced that. I mean, he really tried to unseat them. And even though he's obviously born in the Soviet Union, he's sort of Western by culture now. And he couldn't unseat them because, they vote by delegate. And a lot of the people from the countries apparently were just like bought and paid for. So I don't know to what extent that is still the system, but even in like electoral politics, it's very tough to unseat an incumbent. And yeah, Russians have been the incumbent and they know how to win elections. So it's a struggle. I mean, honestly, with the Magnus stuff, like that's one thing that would be interesting is, and again, FIDE does do some good things. So I'm not like full scale advocating for this, but it'd be interesting if he like just launched his own organization and said, and part of this, like I was again talking with in my recent interview with Jan Gustafsson, we both like classical chess. We both would miss I mean, not always, but at least when it comes to the world championship, but it's not unfathomable to me to see Magnus just decide, you know what, I'm going to make my own world championship and it's going to involve mixed formats and it's not going to involve FIDE. And like, if he's the one playing, like, it's not crazy to me that there could be competing factions like there were in the 90s.
well, almost like there were like from a consistency standpoint. Yeah, I mean, Kasparov tried.
Yeah,
Like you said, Ilham Junov, and he also made the PCA.
Yeah, preceding that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Magnus will try, but I don't know. I mean, hey, Karyakin is threatening. He's gonna try online platform, and it's crazy. My course's website is not accessible if you're in Russia.
Wow.
Because it has chess in the name. It's Gotham Chess, So I think anything with chess and then .com is blacklisted. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, crazy times.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite for the candidates?
I mean, I was looking at the odds. I'll call them up. I had a feeling you were going to ask this. I mean, obviously, if I were just going to, well, not obviously, but if I were just going to bet on one person and price weren't a thing, it would be Ding. I mean, I do think obviously Fabiano is rightfully right there with him, but Ding is just like, the other top players kind of speak of him in revered tones. And, even he had that bad first half of the candidates, but he was super strong in the second half last year. So, but the odds basically on B-Win are Ding and Fabiano are like 27%, Alireza 21%, Hikaru 8%, Duda 6%, Nepo 5%, which sounds crazy low, Rapport 3%, Rajabov 2%. And this is based mostly on ELO. And yeah, I mean, in terms of like buying a stock, I feel like everyone below 10%, I have an interview with Feingold coming out soon, and he was saying he feels like everyone except for Rajabov has a chance. And I tend to agree with that. But if I were only going to pick one, it were going to be Ding. But if I were going to make a bet, like someone like Rapport if I can get 33-1 or something on him winning, I would take that bet.
That's crazy that Nepo is 5%. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe they know something we don't.
Yeah.
That seems insanely low. Hikaru's chances of winning the candidates are higher than Nepo.
Yeah. It's
wow. I also think we are severely overestimating Ding Liren.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds kind of nuts. I mean, he's the best player, but we haven't seen him play at all. Are we forgetting that? We just haven't seen him play at all. Same thing happened with Alireza. Like, we hadn't seen him play a classical tournament in a while, and he lost 2 games. Right?
Yeah, and it's true. And it's funny because I'm quick to ding Alireza for that. Like, I'm, when I handicap it mentally, I'm like, well, Alireza hasn't been playing. What the hell has he been doing while he's hiding out? but Ding, because of all the China stuff, because I assume like he wanted to play, you know. And then we don't really know. I mean, the games that he played to qualify in China, like they seem legit, but you know, some people are wondering, like they were certainly convenient in terms of like timing. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like legacy wise, he has so much accrued respect that I guess that filters into the market price. But you might be right. I mean, certainly, again, if everyone has a chance, maybe save Rajabov. That means the top guys might be getting overvalued. And again, that's a betting market. So there might be some, and I don't know how much money's in it. A lot of chess betting is like, you can't bet a lot of money. So the prices aren't that efficient. So, you know, maybe there's some of that involved, or maybe he just has more fans than other people.
Maybe. We'll see. I think we'll know who the favorites of the candidates are 2 rounds, 3 rounds into it, maybe.
Yeah.
Who's in form. I mean, if you just base it off of the Super Bet Chess Classic, MVL was a killer.
Yeah, shout out MVL, but he's not even in it. It's unfortunate. I mean, there's so many qualified players like Wesley So. I'd love to see him get his chance. But Geary's not in it this time. Like but on the other hand, it's good to have the fresh faces. So it's tough, man.
Yeah, Rapport is currently kind of on an upward trajectory. He's done quite well, although he just tied for last in Superbet. But I also feel like he tied for last because it's kind of a weird. I mean, he played a lot of nonsense openings. And,
yeah, he did.
So that's one way of thinking about it. But Fabiano did not have a wonderful last year or two. I mean, he's 2780, but he was 2850. What was his rating? 2844. Wasn't he 2851? Or was that Kasparov?
Yeah, I don't know about 51, but yeah, in the 2800s for sure. You could fact check that.
Oh yeah, 2851.3.
Wow, nailed it.
Yeah, Kasparov's highest is 2856, and Magnus is 2889.
That's so sick. 2889.
I know, right? Well, unofficial.
Right.
Officially, the highest was 2881. But yeah, I mean, dude, 2851 is an insane rating. I mean, this man Caruana, when he's on, is unstoppable. I was saying that I thought, and I forgot about this, so it was kind of a silly take, but the players have to play someone from their country in the first round of the candidates.
Yeah.
Because, that way you can't, and then in the last round as well, I think. So you can avoid the last round pairing, rather. And I think Hikaru got a terrible first round pairing. I think playing Fabiano with Black is literally the worst pairing you can have. I mean... Yeah,
that's tough with his opening prep.
Yeah, you just gotta desperately hope to stabilize, and you lose the first game of the candidates. We're gonna know who's who pretty quickly. All right. Well, is this too much of a hot take? Who's gonna finish last?
Yeah, let me think.
I mean, potential future interview at stake,
Yeah, exactly. Rajabov, he likes to draw, so I don't know if he would finish last. I guess the question might become who would embrace the volatile strategy? Grisha noticeably does this in the candidates. I think he's, obviously he's got a gambling background, successful poker player, and he's achieved basically everything except for playing for the world championship. Yep. So he takes a lot of chances in the candidates. But to me, there's not necessarily I think that's the correct mindset, especially if you're less strong. But I'm not sure who would embrace volatility like that. Maybe Nepo. Maybe Nepo would go for feast or famine, which could give him an elevated chance of being last. If I were Hikaru doesn't need my advice. But if I were Hikaru, I know that he's really tightened up his repertoire and he's way more solid than he used to be. But it does feel like at his station in life, he should be going for a high volatility strategy, because who cares if he comes in fourth or fifth, and if he came in last, it's no big deal for him professionally. But if he could win it, it's major. So maybe Nepo or Hikaru both have higher chances of winning and higher chances of flaming out.
Not Report?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's his first one. I feel like I could just see, I mean, I know he's got the creative opening repertoire, but nonetheless, like he could be looking to lay a foundation, whereas
Mm,
these other guys could just YOLO it. So, but you know, sheer speculation, of course.
I like that. Yeah, YOLO, as the kids say, or
Yeah.
stop saying.
Oh, if you
Now,
got to let me know if the kids stop saying something, Levy, because I'm an old man.
bro,
So
Ben, I have no idea. It's the disconnect between myself and my little brother, who's 11 years younger than me, feels like 50 years. You know, sometimes I feel like the humor I grew up with, some of the things I grew up with, it's like we've society has shot forward. 50 years. Like, you know what a tone indicator is?
no.
So you're now supposed to write on Twitter thing. Like, have you ever seen someone write something and then /s, meaning sarcasm?
No, interesting.
I've seen that on Reddit. You say like, "Oh yeah, I should have known," and then you put like
Right.
/. So I've seen that on Reddit. Apparently, there's like 100 of those,
Oh, crazy.
and that like
Wow.
indicates how you're supposed to read it for people that like can't tell. And I didn't know what that was.
Huh.
Among other things. Now you can't be proficient in Twitter unless you know L plus ratio. You know what ratioing is?
I know what ratioing is, yeah, but
Okay.
I don't know L plus ratio.
LW. You get a W, it's a win.
Okay.
L is,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a bad thing.
Right.
And yeah, you get ratioed. Um, my favorite thing is when someone's trying to like troll with something idiotic, and then someone responds to the troll by saying ratio, and then that person gets like 200 likes,
Right. Yeah.
and the first person liked their own tweet,
Right.
which is not a good reality to be in. I feel like you shouldn't even have the ability to like your own tweet. I just feel like it's kind of depressing. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of implied. Um, yeah, I mean, Candidates is coming in a couple of weeks. Are you playing anywhere? Are you Chicago
The
Open
candidates,
or
my invite must have got lost in the mail. No,
no? No.
no big tournaments until again until my son's little league is done, and even the World Open, it looks like I'm not going to play. So I'm going to try to play some local action stuff, and I might try to escape weekend Swiss and Connecticut, something like that. I played in the Marshall a couple times. I rejoined the Marshall.
Ooh.
So I might hop up to New York once baseball season's over, but I don't know, man. Like I have a family, so these 5-day tournaments, even though the World Open, like I've played my share, I enjoy it, but it's hard enough for me to get away for 2 days as opposed to 5. So I think, and I don't really need to do norm events, like I'm not there. So I'm just trying to sneak in games here and there.
Well, Ben, as an individual who generally had his wife around up until 13 days ago when she had to travel for visa renewal reasons. Let me just safely tell you that having another person to take care of a house and a live creature
Yes.
has driven me to near insanity alone. So yeah, don't leave for 5 days, man. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I'm at a point. I had him in daycare for 1 day, and it was the best day. I was not worried at all. I was
Yeah.
like, "There's no way he's having a bad time. There just isn't." I'm totally so. How old are your kids?
They are 6 and 9.
Okay,
So they're
so
just getting old enough where like they don't need us as much. But
right.
with the dog, couldn't you hire like a sitter to just come kick it and make your life easier?
Yeah, well, daycare is easier. I am so sensitive about addresses and
Right. That makes sense.
um, on every app, I'm just a letter. I'm not even a
Right.
yeah. So like Ubers.
Yeah.
For a while, I was even taking Ubers to street corners as opposed to actual addresses. It's a totally weird shift of mentality and like living in this world.
Yeah, man. Well, a lot of people know who you are. Let me ask, like, when you could edit this out if you choose, but when you got robbed, do you think that was
Mhm.
like targeted or just
No,
random?
no, it was random. We had our theories of, you know, someone who delivered furniture or something like that. The whole thing seemed pretty random.
Okay.
Um, because it was a relatively big place. Before that, there was 4 male roommates living there. and they obviously never had issues. So I just
Right.
sort of feel like someone spotted or, delivered something and told his friend who's a notorious home invader.
Wow, brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. They took, scans of the place and everything, fingerprint profile, but they never contacted. It's it's like when crimes happen, uh that's it, This isn't going to be like a detective show. I was actually shocked at how many people were writing comments and reaching out to me that they also had a house broken into or a car. Have you
Yeah.
ever had a house broken into?
Uh, growing up, yeah, like I grew up in Center City, Philly. And yeah, there was like a night where someone climbed in our window and was like in our house, and my mom like chased them away with a fire poker. It was hardcore. So it happened to me as a kid, but it's never happened, knock on wood, as an adult. Although my ex-girlfriend, when I lived in Oakland, another not super safe city, she got held up at gunpoint, like at the basically we had like an alleyway parking lot that you pulled into, and there's only one way in, and she got followed in and held up like right outside our house. So that was freaking scary. Gotta look,
Wow.
God bless America, right?
That's yeah, I'm not opening that. I'm not biting. I'm not biting. I'm not biting. I'm not doing
come on,
it.
I teed you up there, Levy.
Yeah, you gotta go to Twitch for that. Yeah, I've even chilled out. I used to be much more aggressive in my takes, but unfortunately, I'm just tired of all of it. It's one of the reasons I feel like at heart I'm a New Yorker at heart, but I've grown up as a New Yorker, so don't interact with people more than you have to. You learn to
Right.
ignore certain things on the street, but I really feel like in my heart of hearts, I agree with how Europeans live their lives. So they got different things going on over there, like not getting bankrupt if you have to take an ambulance. You ever taken an ambulance?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
How much did you have to pay for it?
I think it was like $400. I mean, it
Oh, so
was.
you had it okay. You had like
Yeah,
insurance and yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was a lot, but I mean, yeah, and the whole sense of like roulette whenever you have a medical issue is, yeah, it's alarming.
Yep. I paid almost $4,000 for an hour and a half in an emergency room.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So the bill was actually insane, but then my insurance took some out of it, and then they were like, "You have to pay the rest."
Right.
So, yeah, I've had that. I've had that come too. But yeah, I'm not biting. I'm not biting.
But you are back to streaming more, right? As far as I can tell.
Yeah, in April I did over 100 hours.
So what changed?
I'm the kind of person who I get into a certain habit for a bit, and then I can snap myself out of it, like totally cold turkey style. Like I can just basically flip a switch, and I can sort of force myself to do things a certain way. So that's really all that happened. I fell into a rhythm of I just really wasn't enjoying streaming. I didn't, I that's sort of it. And I was sort of trying to find my ways of other ways of filling that time. Right now, I wish I could go back to that, actually. Right now, I'm sort of addicted. Every day, it's just part of my routine. 2 to 4 hours, just boot it up, play some Blitz, we have different things like game analysis. I'm going to do a hot tub stream pretty soon. So, I was writing people's usernames on my face just to keep it interesting, whatever. People say I sell out. Sure. I sell out.
I don't know how you guys fill the time, but speaking of selling out, I mean, I know sometimes you're hard on yourself, Levy, but your work ethic impresses me. And like, you had that tweet about the sort of decline of Twitch viewership.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I talked with Feingold, I asked him about that, and he said, yes, like everyone's Twitch numbers are down, his included, but he said his YouTube was still like reasonably doing well. Is that your experience as well? Is YouTube hanging in better than Twitch for you, even though you're streaming all the time?
Okay, well, compared to like an office job or something I could have expected even as a chess teacher, it's...
Yeah, no reason to complain, obviously.
Yeah. But compared to, let's say, 6 months or, 8 months ago, of course it's down. I guess you also have to keep in mind that, like, I'm not a small channel. my metrics that I sort of managed to capture chess, but also the massive wide audience. So anytime I put out videos, I did it in a way that I could cast a super wide net. So I got 5 billion impressions last year.
So insane.
Like my videos were recommended that many times, and even 3% of that, which I think is what I captured. And I think the average is maybe 4% impressions. If your impressions are lower, your percent captured is going to be, of course, higher. It's down. It's definitely down. Everything is down. Like my analytics month to month, less minutes viewed, less watch time, less subscribers, less money, obviously,
right,
than 30 days ago, and then obviously than the day prior. And it's a very, 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 very slow kind of decline. Like at the beginning of this month, my videos were being recommended about 12 million times a day.
Holy crap.
I know, even that sounds nuts, right? But okay,
yeah.
we go like it's Monday, May 16th right now, right? It's Monday, May 16th. Well, that was yesterday. 8 million impressions. That's a lot. That's 33%.
Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah.
That was yesterday. But like for the rest of this month, it was, yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. It was sort of around that. So it's it is a lot, and I guess I have the responsibility to sort of continue to capture the audience, but there's not much I can do. I mean, I'm not doing anything that different. It's sort of the same, the same stuff, the recaps, and hopefully during candidates and world championship, it goes back up. But chess sort of ran the course. I mean, it was milked for everything that it could be on YouTube, I guess, and I don't know if there's much else I can do. I can continue to try to innovate, and make sure that people who aren't watching chess are getting it recommended. But people are probably getting recommended, sports, war, news, whatever else is popular nowadays. I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of YouTube as much as I know, as much as Mr. Beast does, for example.
Well, I mean, the conclusion that Ben and I came to basically was like chess is finding its level. It clearly grew from Queen's Gambit, but there was a bit of a sugar high, and at some point, probably around this summer, like we'll have a clear view of where your viewership sort of grows from and my listenership on Perpetual Chess and whatever it may be. Like, but as you say, hopefully there'll be little influxes with stuff like the candidates coming. But I'm just glad you're sticking around. In our last interview for Perpetual Chess, you made it sound like you might move on to other content at some point. So I was glad in your tweet and to hear you talk now, like you're going harder than ever promoting chess.
Harder than ever, yeah. I've got some stuff to hopefully do, and I think long term, I'll put things in place. And the thing about YouTube is you have to be here every day. Yeah. Like if I don't post a video for 2 days, my 24-hour revenue goes down by about 75%.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like if I left for a month, what would happen? Like how much would the passive income be every single day? I don't know, and I don't want to know, because the process to pick it all back up is also brutal. I mean, I didn't make a video for about 7 to 10 days when the Indonesia thing happened. It was horrible bouncing back from that. So,
Eric dropped off for a while when he went to play in Iceland and stuff, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, he drops off for sure. He drops off.
So I'm sure he's giving you the intel on this. This is I am Eric Rosen. I'm sure most people listening.
Yeah, we definitely talked about YouTube and analytics and metrics, but he's just okay with it. I'm not. Yeah, that's sort of the thing. I'm like addicted. I have to keep pushing. It's part of my routine. Some days I do nothing except make a video and do a 3-hour stream, and the rest of the day I'm just tired. And it's like, for me, that's the bare minimum. Like I have to do that, and the rest comes after. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating profession. I mean, in a different universe, I'm still teaching chess Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, going to tournaments, doing chess camps. So, your kids play chess? Speaking of,
not really. My son knows how the pieces move, but he's not really interested. My 6-year-old daughter, she likes to play. We play like collect the coins. Like you put little markers, and then you both have rooks, and you try to see who gets more. She likes the mini games, but we haven't expanded to actual chess yet.
I got you. No, no natural. Is it like a school system where there's chess or no?
I started doing a program at one of their schools, but
Mm,
after the pandemic, I'm not really doing school programs either anymore. So there's a bit of chess, but not at their school. And my son is the one who seems like he has the personality for it. He likes games more than my daughter,
mm-hmm.
and he, for whatever reason, he's just decided he's not that into chess, which is fine. But like,
Yeah.
he's funny. He's I could see him being a chess fan. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
like watching candidates coverage or some big event and I start to tell him about it, he'll get into it and he'll ask like who won and stuff like that. He doesn't really care about playing.
I think that's a lot of the people who came in on the wave. It's like they don't even know what's going on. They just watch my recaps or something. That's
Yeah.
and I
Well,
think
a lot of these
people
tournaments do blend together, in their defense.
they do. I only know about them. I mean, I don't know when some of these tournaments start. I just see some Twitter posts. I'm like, oh, that's in 2 days.
Yeah.
The promotion is just atrocious. No disrespect, listen, to their social media teams and whatever, but it is hard to break it all apart, and it's all closed events, so you don't get to see the best players actually challenged because there's no incentive for them to play any opens.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get 2750 versus 2580 young GM from Uzbekistan or something.
I do love when the occasional
Mm-hmm.
like Gibraltar, like when those tournaments happen, they're pretty compelling. Isle of Man, but yeah, they're pretty rare. The World Cup, that's why I love. I mean, the World Cup, you still have to be elite to get in, but
Yeah.
that's one of the things that makes it entertaining.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, otherwise it's you get like the players who are basically all at the top playing all the same events all the time. The only way to make it more interesting is to speed up the time control, which is what I guess they do. Yeah, World Cup is definitely fun, but even in the latter 32 players, it's very rarely, maybe 16 players, it's very rarely anybody outside of 2,700. World Rapid and Blitz is always pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Even then, it's also the same guys and occasional, new people. Tata Steel, obviously, yeah. You get, but even those guys are 2,700. They're just 2,705,
right?
Or 2,680 or something. So it's like Grand Swiss leads to some cool events. So we have ways to, I think, to make it more interesting. Yeah, but I'm sort of like I'm doing all the YouTube stuff. And I'm not involved in shaping chess for the pros. It's just for like the average individual who opens YouTube and might get my video recommended to them. So it's weird. I don't know where we're gonna be in 3 to 5 years. You'll be still making podcasts. Maybe I'll still be making podcasts. I don't know. I don't know, man. Not your consistency, man.
Touch and go with you, but yeah, you're too successful. But hopefully you'll still be making chess content, whatever it is. But I do enjoy your pods when you get it together to do them.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Mr. Beast said that the average YouTuber career is 2 years.
Wow.
So I'm
You're
close.
living on borrowed time.
I'm close, I started being more consistent about 2 years ago, so I'm definitely not done, but it can be hard to get inspired sometimes. There's only so many guess the elos or low-level games or openings that you can record. Everybody wants instructional content, but nobody watches it.
A lot of people watch it, to be fair. Objectively, yes. A lot of people watch it. And let me ask you, Levy, like you mentioned you track your own analytics a lot. Like, do you watch for up and coming chess YouTubers? Are you like, oh, I got to keep an eye on this guy? And I know you mentioned in our last interview, like you want to be like, you do take pride in being the most popular. So both from a competitive standpoint, but also just sort of from a like content curation standpoint, are you like tracking the up and comers?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely channels out there that I kind of look at. Actually, no. I'll put it this way. I keep an eye on everybody, but there's very few channels that I get inspired by. That's actually one thing that I like to do. I like to just dig through, see what people are doing. If it's just a lot of openings or principles, like that's fine. That's not necessarily inspiring because we're all sort of playing with our soup, just in different ways.
Yeah.
So it's all the same thing, but we're all just presenting it slightly differently. Yeah, there's one channel in particular, like Chess Vibes.
Yeah. Shout out Nelson. I interviewed him. Yeah.
Yeah, he makes unique content, like in the sense that he actually just straight up makes brand new ideas from what I've seen. And some of his ideas I wanted to do back in the day.
Oh, funny.
And I never got around to it. Like I realized Andras has Guess the Opening.
Mm-hmm.
He does like a structure video, and that's something that I've wanted to do with Nelson. He has like he's quizzed his audience on positions, and that's something that I've wanted to do. And now I'm like, shit, if I try to implement this, I hope I don't get accused of plagiarizing. Well, it's YouTube, right? It's not really something you could plagiarize per se, but I do draw some inspiration from the smaller channels, but yeah, not a whole lot, because I really don't watch chess YouTube at all. Like I don't ever put on a speed run. I don't put on any historical game review, because I do enough chess. Like I want my hours to be filled with, Skip and Shannon, Ski, this is crazy, man.
I don't know what that is.
That's Undisputed.
Okay.
Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp.
Okay. Yeah.
So, he likes to ski. That's,
Do you take stuff from the sports world and like your presentation style?
No, the presentation style, I never based it on anybody. I just hit record and this is who I am. So I'm going to make a Q&A video pretty soon. And one of the questions was like, did I ever practice that? No, I just I'm extroverted. I used to lead a classroom of 5-year-olds, so I sort of know how to like throw my voice around, and I guess my delivery was always pretty good. But no, I mean it's just, I guess I was sort of made to do this. I wasn't made to be a GM, but maybe that's something I can improve in the future. I don't know. Some things we just discover we're good at, and others not. Like I'm pretty good at racket sports. Who would have thought?
That's great.
So. I'm garbage at basketball, but boy, do I enjoy watching it. Yeah, I can't play basketball at all. But like I think I'm legitimately the worst candidate on earth. If I have to make a 3-point shot to save the planet, like there's 8 billion people, do not pick me.
Wow, it's like that, huh?
Yeah. Huh. I'm not even sure I'll hit rim, but I love the sport, so I watch it all the time. Yeah, I sadly, to be honest, there's some interviews I feel like I can chat for like 2-3 hours, but I've gotta get this dog like fed, taken outside, find his vaccine records. So I feel like an hour and a half flew by, Ben. I feel like
man. Well, happy to be on again. I'm honored, and yeah, big fan of all you're doing for chess. So my pleasure, man.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of yours too. We spoke before we hit the record button about some recent episodes that we won't get into now. But yeah, I enjoy them as well. And there's some people that I want to talk to who you've talked to. It's going to be difficult not asking them the same questions. I watch athletes sometimes get asked the same questions all the time. So that's one of the struggles. So yeah, I mean. Happy to have you on. Happy to have you back. Maybe like when the candidates come up and we can talk like more specifically about certain things. And yeah, this was great. I always wanted to talk to you because you talked to me twice.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. And let me just shamelessly plug Perpetual Chess Podcast.
Yeah,
listeners. There's so we interview big dogs. Like Anish. No, actually not Anish Giri. Vladimir Kramnik, Anand. Content creators like Levy and Danya and, many Agadmater, many more. Also adult improvers. So if you're just interested in improving your game, like the episode that's out today as we record is with like a guy who just cracked 2000. He's been grinding for years. So I try to feature people like that are not chess professionals as well. We talk books. So just pick and choose which ones you're interested in. If you hate them all, just put them on when you're in the other room. You don't actually have to listen, but much appreciated, Levy.
Yeah, that's a good outro, because in the intro, I'm going to say all the same stuff. So it's going to be like a good summary. I'm going to be like, I'm talking to the host of Perpetual Chess, and they interview, that's crazy, Kramnik and Anand. I don't think you could pay Kramnik enough money to speak to me.
No,
Anand,
no.
maybe.
Kramnik he's willing to do interviews. He's
What?
and obviously he's interesting. You could get him for sure.
I don't know about that. I'll try. If I ever get an interview with Magnus Carlsen, that will be a crowning achievement.
He's playing on chess.com now. Your odds have gone up.
I don't know. I think he's gonna look at me and he's gonna want a percentage of all the times I've put him in a YouTube thumbnail. But that's a YouTube algorithm loves Magnus. What can I say? Yeah, Ben, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate it, and I'll let you know when the episode is out.
Excellent. Thanks, Levy.
Folks, as always, if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you for your continued support of all my content. You know where to find me if you'd like to support, whether on Twitch, on YouTube, or on my website, buying one of my courses at GothamChess.com. And I will see you right back here in Gotham City with our next episode, with our next guest.